So in this chapter, we are going to look on the other operators. So the first operator we are going to work with is comparison operator. Now in our previous lesson, we learned about the arithmetic operators, assignment operators. So here we are going to learn about the comparison operator and logical operator. So the comparison operator, we have double equals to, which checks if a variable and a variable is equal to, and we have triple equal to. But this one, we will talk about this one later. The triple equals to, and we have not equal to. We have greater than. Okay, so double equals to, let's check something here. So before we talk about the comparison operator, we have to talk about another data type that we didn't talk about earlier. This is called Boolean. So Boolean data type checks if something is true or false. So let's say, so true or false is what comparison operators does. So let's check this. Let num1 is equal to 5. Let num2 is equal to 10. So let result is equal to, sorry, let's do it here. Console.log num1 is equal to num2. So here we are using the double equal to. That is to check if num1 is equal to num2. And if it's num1 is equal to num2, it will give us true. If num1 is not equal to num2, it will give us false. So let's check here. Num1 is 5 and num2 is 10. So like we all know, num1 is not equal to num2. So let's save it and check the browser. Yes, we got false. That's it, we got false. Let's go back to our code. So that means num1 is not equal to num2. Let's make num1 10 and num2 also 10. So here we know num1 is 10, num2 is 10, so they are equals to, they are the same. So let's save it and check. Yes, we got true here. That's equal to. Let's go and use another, this one, not equal to. So let me make this, let me change it back to 5 and change this not equals to. So when you see this exclamation sign, it means no or not. In programming language, in any programming language, when you see this exclamation sign, it means not or no. So this exclamation sign and equals to means not equal to. So this means num1 is not equal to num2. and that is true, because num1 here is not equal to num2, so that will print true. But if so, let's save it and check. Save. Yes, we got true, because num1 is not equal to num2. But let's make num1 here 10 and save it. So num1 is not equal to num2, but here we have num1 which is equal to num2, which is 10 10. So let's check it and see. Yes, we got false, because num1 is equal to num2. Let's go with the less than. So let's, yes, so num1, this says num1 is less than num2, but here we have num1 and num2 equal. So num1 is 10, num2 is 10. So what will be the answer? You should guess it in the comment section. Num1 is less than num2, but here num1 is 10, num2 is 10, so I'm sure it will give us false. Let's run it. Yes, we got false. Let's change it, make it maybe num1 is equal to 2, and let's save it. Still num1 is less than num2. Let's check it. It's true. Yes, we got true, because num1 is less than num2. Let's make the num1 bigger than num2 and see. So here num1 is greater than num2, so this says num1 is less than num2. Let's check it. It will probably give us false. Let's save it and check it in the browser. Yes, we got false. Let's go on to the greater than symbol. So let's change it. Greater than. So here it says num1 is greater than num2. Is it true? Yes, it is true, because num1 here is 20 and num2 is 10. Let's save it and check. Yes, we got true. Let's go back. Let's change num1 to 2, which means num1 is 2, num2 is 10, and that means num1 is less than num10. But here the code says num1 is greater than 10. So let's check. That will probably give us false. Yes, and then we got false. Let's go to the less than or equals to. So less than or equals to, or equals to. Yes, less than or equals to. So here num1 is 2, which is less than 10, and here it says num1 is less than, is equal, sorry, it has to come before the equals to. So it says num1 is less than or equals to 2, and I think that is right, because num1 here, which is 2 is probably less than 10. So let's save it and run it. Yes, we got true, and let's make it 10 so they will be equal, and let's save it and check again. Yes, we got true, because they are equals to, num1 is less than and equal to num2. But let's make num2 greater. So here num2 is 20 and num1 is 10, but here it says num1 is less than or equals to num2. I think this will be false, like you are guessing, because num1 is smaller than num2, but here it says num1 is greater. Num1 here is smaller than num2. Let me make num1 greater. Num1 is 30, num2 is 20. This means num1 is greater than num2, but here it says num1 is smaller than num2. So I think it will give us false. Yes, it gave us false. Same applies to the greater than or less than. Let's go to the logical operators. So the logical operators, we have this, double, which means and we have which is or. So here too it checks, it gives true or false as a result. So here double and means and this gives us or. So let's use it and check. Let num1 is equal to 3. Let num2 is equal to 8. So and let me check something here. Let x is equal to 20. Let y is equal to 30. Let's come down here and do listen, console.log. Let's first use equals to, the double equals to that we use here as a comparison operator to check if num1 is equal to num2. So here let's check num1 is equal to num2, and I'm sure this will give us false because num1 is 3, num2 is 8, they are not equal. Yes, it has given us false. Let's come again, and so we are going to use this and x is equal to y. So this line of code means that num1 is equal to num2 and x is equal to y. But here num1 is not equal to num2, x is also not equal to y. So this and will bring us false because here is false and here is false, so will give us a false statement. So yes, it has given us false. But if we were to use or, which is, it will give us, or it will also give us false. Let's see, false. But if one of it were to be true and you used or, let's say x is smaller than y, so x is smaller than y. Here num1 is equal to num2, but that is false. But here x is smaller than y, that is true. Let's see, how do you think the answer would be? Because here is false and here is true. Let's say we can check. We got true, but one here is false and one here is true. That is or. If you use or and either one of them is true, it will bring us true. If both of them is true, it will give us true, and if one of them is true, it will give us true. But if we were to use and it will probably give us false. Let's go and check. False. You are guessing, you are thinking, why did we get false? Because when you use and one of them is false, it will bring us false. So let's do something here. So okay, let me do something here for it to be simple for you. So or, what is, when you use or and one of them is true, one is true, the second one is also true, it will give us true statement. Will give us true statement. That will give us true. If one is true and one is false, it will still give us true. If both of them is false, are false, it will give us false. But when we are using and and 1 is 2, the second one is also true, that will also give us true. 1 is true, 1 is false, will give us false. Both of them are false, will give us false. So you should learn this, and it will make it easier for you. So if you are using or and all the statements are true, it will give you true. One of the statement is false, one of the statement is true, it will give you true. All the statements are false, it will give you false. But when you use and both of them are true, it will give you true as well. But when one of them is false, it will give you false. So that is it for this chapter.